Respected Principal Sir, Shantilal Engineering College, and patron of this webinar and digital SSC initiative of our institute. Respected Dr. KP Badugujar Sir, Professor and Head of Electrical Department, SSC, and also expert of today's session. Respected Professor B.N. Vaidya Sir, Associate Professor of Electrical Department, SSC, and also the convener of today's event. Respected faculty participants and dear students, namaste to all of you. It is indeed a matter of pleasure for the electrical department of SSC Bhavnagar to welcome you all to this webinar on the topic of education paradigm, past, present, future. This webinar is an outcome of an initiative taken by Ministry of Education India on the completion of 1 year of National Education Policy 2020 for scheduling various webinars on reforms and augmentation of Indian education system. Today we have with us our respected Principal Sir of SSC, who always motivates us and supports us for arranging such academic activities related to the betterment of the students and the teachers. I reverentially request him to address the audience with his inspirational words on this event. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Viren. Thank you very much. And
thank you, sir.
So nice to see you all here. And our dear Professor KP Badugujar. Well, this is something which is being discussed informally, formally at various platforms and forums, but we were not having much dwelling upon this due to the fact that we are unable to, rather we are restricting ourselves to be physically in a common place. But then this is an opportunity given by the celebration part of the state government, what is being on, and we are having this opportunity. We will be having something else also subsequently whenever we get an opportunity. As you and we all know that government has implemented the new education policy. So when we talk about the new policy, we need to fundamentally know that where we were, where we are now, and where we are inclined to move forward. And with respect to that, this is a perfect selection of the topic, and I'm sure that Dr. KPB will be doing absolute justice to the thing because he is a very strong academician and also part to the improvement of academics as part of NBA process in the department. So I'm very much hopeful and expect that this will be a very wonderful and interesting kind of thing, which is not normally being talked about, because we are in present and thinking about what can come in the future, but what was the past, and hence we are at this juncture and we will be moving in what direction. We'll be moving in what direction requires a lot of thinking and our efforts, because only then we will be able to get the outcome which is expected. So not taking much time, and congratulating the Department of Electrical Engineering and all those who are joining for this event. Wonderful time ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. For always, your words are inspirational and always motivational. Thank you for bestowing such motivational words, sir. I heartily thank you, sir. Now, so let us proceed further. Now let's have a quick or brief introduction. Sorry. Now let's have a brief introduction of our speaker, Dr. KP Badugujar sir. He received his BE Electrical degree from Gujarat University in 1997 and the ME Electrical degree with specialization in high voltage engineering from IISc Bangalore in 2007. Thereat, he was also awarded Tech Corporation Gold Medal for the best ME student. He has obtained his doctorate degree from IIT Bombay in the field of transformer diagnostics. He is the recipient of GTU Pedagogy Innovation Award in 2013 and 2017. He has published number of papers in peer-reviewed international journals and conferences. He has been a part of number of CEP courses delivered to BEL Bhopal, Crompton Greaves Mumbai, T&R Ahmedabad, ECIL Hyderabad, GTU and IIT Bombay. He has delivered a number of expert lectures at STTPs in various parts of the country. He is also the reviewer of IEEE Transaction on Power Delivery, IET SMT and many national and international conferences. He has also been appreciated for the outstanding contribution as a reviewer in IEEE Transaction on Power Delivery in 2017. He has received the Best Technical Paper Award in IEEE Indicon 2013 conference. He has received POSOCO 2014 award along with cash prize of 60,000 rupees for his doctoral research on transformers. His first year basic electrical engineering lectures are also available on Namo eTab mobile application and regularly telecasted on Vande Gujarat channel. Recently, he has been given the responsibility of placement cell of Education Department, Government of Gujarat, and at CTE, at Commissionerate of Technical Education Gujarat level, he is also the member secretary for NBA Core Committee, member of Research Proposal Committee and Training Proposal Committee of Electrical Engineering. At present, he has been serving as a professor and head of Electrical Engineering Department of Shantilal Shah Engineering College, Bhavnagar. Now it has been rightly said, Vidyam Dadati Avinayam. It means the erudition provides humility, and erudition comes from the education. Hence, the education plays a vital role in the external and the internal development of any human being. So with this, I would like to invite our expert Dr. Ketan Badugujar sir to deliver his expert session on the education paradigm, past, present and future. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Viren sir. Thank you, Bhatt sir, for giving me opportunity to share my views on this.
Thank you,
so
sir.
I'm sharing my presentation. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, sir.
And my audio is clear?
Yes, sir. It is clearly visible.
Okay. So whenever whenever presentation goes off or my audio goes off, let me know.
Sure, sir.
Okay. So we'll start with the presentation. Whatever things I have collected is actually the research I have made on this policy in last 1 year. So whatever I'm sharing is actually available everywhere, and I'm just collected the data and presenting to you. So today's presentation will flow like this. We will initially look the ancient system, ancient then medieval education system, then modern education system. We will also see after the independence how many policies we had and what is the difference between Indian education policies and foreign education policy. Then we will have an introduction to NEP 2020. What would be the impact of this on technical education and what are the changes with respect to present education system. So that is how we have planned this lecture. Whatever questions you have, you please put those questions onto chat box. So at the end of the session, Viren sir will moderate and we will have a discussion on that. So let us start this whole concept and lecture. Ancient education. So we all are majoritarily aware about these things, but let us try to put in a proper perspective. If you go to very way back, let's say even 4,000, 5,000 years back. So we can say that there was no formal education kind of a system in India, but we had a knowledge passing kind of a system where father used to pass on his knowledge to his child, and primarily it was related to the occupation. So the present day schooling system was not available, but then mouth to mouth education was available. Later on, few systems have developed in India, which is broadly we can say Vedic system and Buddhist system. In Vedic system, it was mostly revolving around Vedas, Vedangas and Upanishads, while Buddhist system was revolving around Buddhist school. So previously it was a kind of a Vedic system, and then after the Buddha's incarnation, then Buddhist system came into existence. In case of a Vedic system, Sanskrit was the major language, and in case of a Buddhist system, Pali was the major language of education. Now, what was the uniqueness of ancient education system in India? So back then, ancient India was very different from the rest of the world. In fact, we all know the history. So Indian education or Indian system or cultures were very much different from the rest of the world. There was no interference from the state or a society with respect to curriculum and administration of the education. And a child has to leave his home, his or her home for education. And a teacher in Gurukul used to teach the students. So child has to leave the home and go to Gurukul and take studies over there. it was a free of cost. According to this system, physical labor was utmost importance. So even a child is learning in physiological studies or even a slokaj and all, but he has to do some kind of manual work every day. And teacher used to take care of everything, including food, clothing, housing, everything was taken care by teacher or say Gurukul people. Debates and discussion was a part of that system even in ancient India. In Vedic system of study, the mark of commencement of taking education was done by Vidyarambha ceremony. So this is something like Janoi kind of a thing with what we do right now, but previously it was known as a Vidyarambha ceremony, which included worshipping goddess Saraswati. Only the lacuna was only the children of Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya were allowed in Gurukul. The Vedic system was comprising of 4 Vedas, that is Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda and Atharva Veda, while 6 Vedangas were there, which is like ritualistic knowledge, matrix, exegist, grammar, phonetics and astronomy. These are the 6 Vedangas were taught. Upanishads, Tarka Shastra like logic and reasoning, Puran and many more things were taught in the Vedic system of education. This is one picture depicting the Vedic system. In Buddhist system of study, it was starting at the age of 8 with a ceremony called Prabhajya or Prabhajya. And this ceremony could be practiced by boys of all caste. Means in Buddhist system of study, all caste systems, there was no bar on caste. And main subjects in Buddhist systems were 3 Pitkas, which were Vinaya, Abhidhamma and Sutta. They are the 3 Pitkas, and 18 Buddhism schools were recognized across the India. Certain other subjects were common to Vedic system as well as Buddhist system, and they were like arithmetic, military science, law, performing arts, ethics, arts and architecture. These subjects were common to both the system of study. And this is one of the picture depicting this system of study. Now, what was the status of women in ancient India for respect to the education? So it is unfortunate to tell that it was less given to the women. In fact, they were trained in housekeeping, dancing and music. Few girls were allowed to take Upanayana ceremony, and educated women were divided into majorly 2 classes. One was Sadyodvahas, who pursued their education till they get married, and another branch was Brahmavadinis, who never get married but then continued studying throughout their lives. Vedas, Vedangas were taught to women, but up to limited to religious songs and poems necessary for rituals. Some notable Vedic and Upanishad women scholars were like Apala, Indrani, Ghosha, Lopamudra, Gargi, Maitreyi. They are the famous women scholars in ancient India. This is one picture depicting the Buddhist monk giving education to women. What was the aim of education in ancient India? Just unlike present day, it was not aimed to produce employable students or something like that, but it was like first aim was to give quality and good education. Second was giving the enrichment of culture, character, personality development and cultivation of noble ideas. Students were made future ready and they are trained to survive in any situation. The objective was to give mental, physical and intellectual personalities of the students, and practical knowledge has more importance than the theoretical knowledge. So in nutshell, it was regarding giving the overall development of the student in ancient India. Although before the Takshashila and Nalanda came up, if you look back to the Ramayana and Mahabharata Kal, at that time, various Gurukuls were very famous, like Valmiki Gurukul or Sandipani Gurukul. So Gurukuls were known by their gurus. So they were very famous. And then if you see the systematic way of universities kind of a system that came almost in Buddhist era, where many famous universities across the globe were there. The most famous one was the Taksashila or Takshila. So it was a center of learning which included religion as well as teaching of Buddhism in ancient times. It was very famous for its higher education, and subjects like scriptures, law, medicine, sociology, astronomy, military science were taught in this specific university. We at that time it was we calling as a Vidyapit. Great scholars such as Panini, who was a great grammarian, whose work was Ashtadhyayi was published. Another student was Chanakya, who was a skilled statecraft studied in this university. Students from Kashi, Kosala, Magadha, and different countries flocked into this specific university. At present, this university is in northwestern Pakistan, and it is actually an archaeological site and a World Heritage Site declared by UNESCO. Another great university was Nalanda, also known as a Nala, which is at present it is in Bihar. The subjects like Vedas, fine arts, medicine, mathematics, astronomy were taught over there. Few other universities like Vallabhi, Vikramshila, Ujjain, Banaras were also there. Vallabhi University was famous for law, medicine, and economics, and there also people from various countries used to come there. Vikramshila was famous for Tantric Buddhism, and likewise other universities also there. So this is one picture depicting the Nalanda's ruins. The advantages of this ancient education system was it was focusing on all-round development of the students. Emphasis was on practical knowledge and not just ranking. In fact, we haven't heard of ranking system in ancient education system, but it was more focused on knowledge rather than ranks. And generally it is away from the society or towns. It is generally in forest or isolated places. So knowledge grasping was better in those era. Pressure was not there on the students, rather effective learning was happening at that time. And kings used to help all such universities without disturbing their curriculum and formation of curriculum. So everything was state sponsored without the interference. Some of the disadvantages of ancient education system was that women were not allowed admission to this Vidyapits or Gurukul, and there was a discrimination based on some caste. So Kshatriyas were allowed, like we had an example of Eklavya, who denied admission in Gurukul. So likewise, some disadvantages also there. Now this education system sustained for many years until the medieval education system came into existence. You all know that after 8th century invasion started into India and many foreign people or foreign kings invaded India. So during this invasion, the first invader like Muhammad Ghaznavi, when he captured India, he started number of schools in the India, schools and libraries. So this medieval system drastically changed the ancient education system, and during the medieval education system, Arabs and Turks brought new culture, traditions, and institutions in India. They were mostly based on Islamic pattern of education, which was very different from the Vedic system as well as Buddhist system of the education. So education primarily focused on Islamic and Mughal system in medieval age. So medieval age you can consider from 8th century up to the 17th century. In medieval system of education, the main objective was knowledge and propagation of Islam. So objective behind this whole system was to deliver religious deliberations to the people. What were the subjects of study? So majorly Arabic and Persian, they were the subjects and languages taught to the students. Arabian and Persian were the major languages. Recitation of Quran was compulsory. Islamic Persian scholars, one was Ibn Sina. He said that like almost at the age of 14, choice of subjects were given like mass reading, manual skills, literature, medicine, geometry, trade, commerce. So they were also there in the part of this system. Majorly there were two systems in medieval stage. One was religious education and one was secular education. In religious education, Quran, Muhammad and his invasion, and Islamic laws and Islamic theories were taught. In secular education, Arabic literature, grammar, history, philosophy, mathematics, geography, politics, language and agriculture were also taught. There were two education systems in medieval stage. One was called Maktabas and another was called Madrasas. Maktabas is something like primary education and Madrasas are something like higher education system. In primary education system, they used to learn reading, writing and arithmetic along with the religious education. And later writing, accountancy were also taught during that Maktabas age or Maktabas system. In Madrasas, higher education was given, and then during the time of Akbar, he also introduced some of the Indian philosophies which is related to Hinduism will also include in the syllabus. So Patanjali, Sanskrit, Vedanta, they were also included in the madrasas during the time of Akbar. Some of the advantages, disadvantage of this medieval education was practical knowledge was given, student-teacher relations were good, and students were taught from basics and how they can support the ruling of the state, that was also taught. Disadvantage was it was mostly like religious and Islamic education was given, and focus was generally on leadership of ruling the country, how you would rule the country. That was the thing which is majorly taught. Now let us come to modern education system. Now modern education system started almost in the British era. We all know that there was someone called Lord Macaulay who completely changed the education system in 1830. So whatever we right now learning is almost a system similar to what British has given. So at then the British era, the main focus was to spread the Christianity, and subjects were very limited. But then in the last part of this century or previous century, in last 100 years, this has changed and a lot of new subjects have been introduced. In British system of study, they used to produce a mass production of students who are employable, who can work as a labor force in all the industrial revolution. So the education system was tuned to produce a mass of students who is readily employable for the technical and clerical jobs available in that era. So industrial sector increased day by day and demand increased. The education sector also need to change and adopt that environment. So in last 2 centuries, what we found is the education system is now tuned towards producing industry required skills, industry required professionals. So slowly and gradually, this modern education system is now converted itself as a factory house producing employable people. That was the basic aim in those era. So the modern education was to inculcate values in students such as equality, secularism, education for all, and environmental protection also. Each student must be provided at least minimum level of education, so as to understand the culture and people of our country. So this is I'm talking about the whole system even after British left, what is the purpose of education right now, and to prepare the students for ever increasing the demand. Now curriculum is actually divided into three parts: primary education, secondary education and graduation level, where we used to have primary from 1 to 10 standard, then secondary from 11 to 12. Now this definition keep on changing. Let's say right now we call 8 standard onwards as a secondary, but sometimes 11, 12th was secondary. Even most of the states consider 11 and 12 standard as a junior college, but in Gujarat we call it as a 11, 12th as a schooling only. So these things keep on changing according to the state and according to the era. Graduation is generally after 12th, you go to college or university where you do your graduation. Again, you have undergraduate, postgrad and graduate studies like that. There are three to four major institutions who deliver education, learning. First is school. We all know what is school, what is college and what is university. So school are the place where you get primary education, basic education. Colleges are the place where you select some kind of a specialization, science, commerce kind of a thing. Or even if you go to university in science also, you can again go for some more selection. And again, we have some entrance exams like JEE or IEEE for entering into university. The advantages of modern education is now we have started using technology. Student is learning freelancing and many new technologies have come up. And employment oriented studies are given. Many more programs have come up. Now, if you see the olden days, the diversity of programs were not much and experts available in all the fields were not limited. But now in modern education system, there is a lot of diversity and specific skill based knowledge can be imparted. Top colleges and universities with good environment and infrastructures are available. At the time of independence, we have only few universities and few colleges. But now in Gujarat only we have more than 70 universities and more than 500 colleges. Disadvantages of modern education is now there is a lot of pressure and burden of work on the students. There is a lack of practical knowledge, mostly theoretical things are there. School fees and colleges fees are very high. Private institutions are charging like anything. And the family which are below poverty line may not afford the education due to increase of fee. And lack of connectivity for the students who are in rural areas. But again, the conditions are definitely better than the ancient because nowadays many people are getting at least primary education. Now let us try to understand what are the policies that we had since India got independence and how each policy gave some new concept so that we reach up to this NEP 2020. So after the independence, the first commission which was established was constituted in 1950. In education, the constitution was adopted in 1950 and it became the responsibility of both state as well as central government. Now we know that few responsibility lies with central government like defense, finance and foreign affairs. They are all central responsibility, but there are some state responsibilities as well. So some of the areas are given to state. But education has been divided for both central as well as state and they together try to give the best possible education to the students. Constitution makers have recognized that stability and progress of the country will only possible if they have a educated electorate. अगर आपका मतदार एक educated होगा तभी जाके एक अच्छा country बन पाएगा. That was there in the mind of constitution makers. So Constitution not only emphasizes on the principle of equality for educational opportunities, but also the achievement of social justice through the policy of positive discrimination. So education policies in independent India have been closely influenced by the education commissions which were set up time to time. So first commission, which is known as University Education Commission, was established in 1948 under the chairmanship of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. It was set up on the status of Indian University and suggest the improvements and extensions desirable to suit the present and future requirement of the country. So this was the first commission established for the universities. And whatever university right now you are saying, whatever structure of university you are saying, the appointment of vice chancellor, registrar, all the senate members, rules, regulations, they all were given by this commission. And you can see that because of this commission, we have a independent university structure. You all know that vice chancellor of university is directly reporting to the Rajyapal, and it is considered to be an independent body as a whole. So to create an effective and functional democracy and reduce the socio-economic inequalities, this commission aimed to set up independent university environment. So Commission had aimed at creating universities which would provide knowledge as well as wisdom for a comprehensive development of the personality. So higher education accessible to the sections of society, irrespective of region, caste, gender, and region, right? So as you know that before independent India, there were many restrictions on the education, but then this commission made it possible that with respect, without any reference to the caste, religion, gender, and region, all were given equal opportunity to get an university education. Then came the Secondary Education Commission under the chairmanship of Dr. A. Lakshmanaswamy Mudaliar in 1952, and the report was submitted in 1953. So the commission suggested that diversification of the high school courses and establishment of multi-purpose high school. So multi-purpose high schools were established during that era, and another proposal was introducing uniform pattern throughout the India. So previously the pattern was not uniform because just at the time of independence there were various states. So some states were following 12 years of schooling, some states were following 10 years of schooling. So this commission brought uniform pattern throughout the India, and it also advised to set up technical schools. You all know that right now people are not going to technical schools, but till the establishment of GTU or previous to that, from 8th standard to 10th standard, people can opt for technical schools. So those technical schools were established by the recommendation of this commission. The commission also put a significant place in the development of secondary education in independent India. But one of the lacuna in this commission was it could not provide the framework for women's education. So still the country was developing and women does not had that major role in the independent India. So this commission could not give more weightage to the women's education. Then another commission followed by Mudaliar Commission was D.S. Kothari Commission, which generally known as a Kothari Commission. Now, previous two commissions did not give education policy. They were specific. One was for university, second was for secondary education. But then there was no wholesome approach or there was no national education policy till that date. So it was the first time when D.S. Kothari or Kothari Commission gave the whole education policy, which was covering from child education to the PhD education. So whole education spectrum was covered by this commission. So in fact, we can say that the first education policy came in 1968. Till then, whatever was there were just small commissions who were specific to the specific segment of education, either secondary or university education. So first education policy came into existence in 1968. And the opening paragraph of that commission was, the destiny of India is now being shaped in her classroom. यानी कि भारत का भविष्य उसके वर्ग खंडों में या क्लासरूम में बनने वाला है. ये उनके ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट्स थे. So as per the view of Kothari Commission, the power to work as a powerful instrument of social, economical and political change. अगर आप बच्चों के हाथ में आप पावर दे रहे हो, नॉलेज दे रहे हो, तो अल्टीमेटली आप सोशल, इकोनॉमिकल और पॉलिटिकल चेंज के लिए आप एक सतह तैयार करते हो. That was the basic philosophy of this that policy. They suggested a drastic reconstruction, almost like a re-evaluation to realize the constitutional goals. And at that time, countries were facing problems in different sectors. So they suggested a comprehensive reconstruction. So they suggested internal transformation, qualitative improvement, and expansion of educational facilities. They gave suggestions for 3 specific areas: internal transformation, how qualitative improvement will happen, and how expansion of facilities will happen. So based on the recommendation of NEP 1968, at that time, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi announced it as a radical restructuring of the education system. So in a nutshell, we can say that it was the first effort by government to promote and regulate the education in country, because education need to be regulated by some policies. So this was the first attempt to promote and regulate the whole scenario in the country. It covered from elementary education to higher education all over the India, both rural as well as urban areas. And it sought total reformation at extending the prospects of education to the sections of society to accomplish the goal of harmony and integration. What were the key features of this policy? This policy gave free and compulsory education from 16 to 14 age group. It suggested 3 language formula: English as a medium of instruction, Hindi as a national language, and Sanskrit as a ancestor language. So it gave you 3 language formula. Education opportunities were provided irrespective of caste, religion, region, gender, physical and mental disability. So physical and mental disability also were given importance into this education policy. Talent identification should be given. So by way of technical schools, they tried to improvise the talent. Teacher education or teacher training were never taught before this policy, but in this policy, better training and qualification of teacher improvement were suggested in this policy, and part-time courses at the university level also developed. So evening classes or part-time classes were suggested and developed at university in this policy. There was some criticism also, because when this NEP gave 3 language formula, at that time southern states were not agreeing with the Hindi language. So there was a criticism for 3 language formula. But again, as you know, that every policy has some good factors, some criticism. But you can say that this was the first effort in where Indian education system was being given some shape in terms of some policy. Then second policy, national education policy, came after almost 18 years in 1986. So in 1986, the policy was recognized as special emphasis on removal of disparities to equalize the educational opportunities. So जो भी educational opportunities को नहीं पा रहे थे, जो region नहीं पा रहे थे, उनका disparities को remove करना इसका एक goal था. So it was initiated by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1986. And in fact, it was implemented in 1986 only, but then there was some amendment in 1992. So objective was give opportunities to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, other backward classes, women who were deprived of educational opportunities for centuries. So the reservation systems for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, backward class and women, they all came after this policy. In fact, they were there, but then meticulously implemented in this policy. During this policy, Operation Blackboard was initiated, and for primary education, this Operation Blackboard gave certain emphasis, some advices, some suggestions that how to make primary education better. Scholarships were expanded. Promote the adult education. Now adult education was heavily promoted in this policy. हम लोग जानते हैं एक वर्ड था प्रौढ़ शिक्षा, जो लोग 20-25 साल के बाद जो पढ़ना चाहते हैं या शाम को उनको पढ़ाना चाहिए. So that प्रौढ़ शिक्षा अभियान came through this policy. So promote adult education came. SC/ST community teachers were recruited. Incentives were given to poor family for sending the students to the school. So Madhyan Bhojan Yojana, like it is a kind of a promoting students to come to the school. So incentive to the poor family were given. New institutions were developed, and open universities were set up. So Indira Gandhi National Open University was set up as a course of this policy, and then many open universities came after implementation of this policy. It also set the stage for emergence of information technology. In this policy, information technology was just coming up. So it just provided a setup that how these things can emerge. It also recognized the rural university model along with Gandhian philosophy. So some of the rural university based on Gandhian philosophy were developed during that era. And the structure was 10 plus 2 plus 3, 10 years plus 2 years of relevant health, and then 3 years of graduation. If it's a commerce science, 3 years, engineering 4 years, that whole setup was developed. But if you remember previous to that, if you 68 to 86, there was a different structure. At that time, there was a 5-year engineering course, or previous to that, there was a BSc and then there was engineering. So this keep on changing, but then the present structure came in this policy 10 plus 2 plus 3 or 10 plus 2 plus 4 that came in this policy. National curriculum framework was also developed in this era, and institutions like UGC, NCERT, AICT, they were made strong during this area. They were there previously also, but their powers were not that great. But in this policy, UGC, NCERT, AICT, they all were given more power. There was some amendment also in this policy. So this amendment came in 1992. So 1992 and 1986, they were the same policy, but then 1992, we had certain amendments. So Acharya Ram Murthy, the commission was set up under the chairmanship of Acharya Ram Murthy in 1990, who provided the recommendation. And these recommendations were implemented and put on the table in Parliament by N. Janardhan Reddy. Central Advisory Board of Education was set up under the leadership of N. Janardhan Reddy, and a report was tabled in 1992 and implemented in that era. Then in 2005, there was some common minimum program under the UPA government, and this UPA government did certain changes in that policy. So key resolutions of that amendment were it gave common entrance exam, which we call JEE, or let's say previously it was called as AIEEE. Then state level engineering entrance exams were also there, and AIEEE was also there. And admission standards for the higher educations were tried to made common. Previously, it was very difficult to get admission, and because student has to rush to every other place for getting admissions. But then admission standards, common entrance exams, they all were made or brought into one umbrella through this policy. Some of the objectives were to provide computer literacy, achieve universal access and enrollment, value education, importance to higher education as well as vocational education, and training of teachers. They all were emphasized in this policy. So after this, the policy which came into existence was our NEP 2020. So it is almost long back. You can see 1986 or 2020. So almost 34 years निकल गए दो पॉलिसी के बीच में. तो एक पूरी जनरेशन पास हो गई. So it was a very right time or very needed thing that something new would have come, because you all know that in last 34 years world have changed drastically, and so as to education system should also change. No doubt there is an incremental change in education system, but on policy level also there required certain changes. So before understanding the NEP 2020, let us try to evaluate what is the Indian education system or policy and what is the foreign education policy and system based on certain parameters. Now let's say if you think about option to switch, like right now we are just comparing our system with UK, US and Germany. So switching option is almost difficult or not possible in case of an Indian education system. Let's say if you have a chemistry major, then you won't be able to go for economics or physics. But in foreign education system, switching is very easy. Like you can always switch the courses in between. Then if you see the approach towards education, so in case of an Indian system, rely on the research that has been conducted in the past and focus more on theoretical education. यहाँ पे अगर हम देखें एजुकेशन का अप्रोच तो हम ज्यादातर थियोरटिकल और जो पास्ट में प्रूव हो चुका है उस पर डिपेंड करते हैं, थियोरटिकल एजुकेशन. While in case of a foreign education system, they encourage fresh research other than what has already been done or discovered, and they follow more practical approach. Research initiative, if you take, although we have certain help from government, research funds are limited and hence research initiatives are also less. But if you see foreign system, you always have funding from Google, Microsoft or many other places. So foreign universities get a lot of funding and hence they have a better research initiative offered there. Curriculum, if you see, so modification based on latest and approved research studies are quite late in Indian scenario, where in foreign scenario, some of the technologies are developed in university only. So curriculum is changed every few years and changing is very fast. Exposure, if you see, so we have limited exposure for from international education in India. And if you see foreign countries, they have actually international exposure because students come from all across the globe. So students have international exposure and also technologies, international exposed technologies available to them. Course options we see here are very limited. In case of international universities, a lot of specialization and courses are available. Job opportunities, if you see, so very high ranked universities, top educational institutions have good job opportunities. In case of an international university also, they provide excellent job opportunities for the students. Funds, if you see, so good point is that in India, education is comparatively affordable. With respect to Indian poor people, it is still not affordable. But if you compare the cost of education with other countries, then it is still affordable. In case of foreign countries, living, food, travel, all this, if you add, then it is really a costly and expensive offer at least for Indian students. Return on investment, if you see, if someone is investing in education, then return on investment is conditional. For big universities, it is definitely there, but then smaller universities or less ranked universities, it is difficult. In case of a foreign education, cost of education is definitely high, but then return on investment is definitely good. Scholarships, we have a limited scholarship in foreign countries. Definitely you have more scholarships and various options are also there with work study program. So here we are not saying what is good, what is bad. We are just comparing them on the face value. It depends on perception. Whosoever feels good, they can take that specific system. If you see the good points about the Indian education system, that Indian education system prepares student very strong theoretically. Because if you need anything to be done in practice, you need strong fundamentals. So theoretical education is very good in the India, and students in India are cracking some of the toughest exams of the globe. You can see JEE, NEET, UPSC exam. They are the toughest exam of the globe, and Indian students are cracking them because they have a very strong theoretical knowledge. Whereas if you see the foreign education system of developed nations, they have more opportunities, more subjects flavor, and mainstream options. Other than mainstream options, some specialized options are available, and their studies are considerably more practical. If you specifically see Germany, then it is said that in Germany, engineering education is almost 80% practical and 20% theoretical. So it depends country to country, continent to continent, that how the education system has been shaped up. Now let us see what is there in Education Policy 2020. So now this Education Policy 2020 replaces the previous education policy that was of 1986. And at present, what was the policy previously was considered as a rigid, redundant, and focusing more on content and results. But then this new policy is promising to replace all these things. So how this policy came up in 2015, a committee was formed under the Cabinet Secretary T.S.R. Subramaniam, who constituted this policy with the consultation of all the stakeholders. Based on the committee report, the draft NEP was submitted in 2019 by a panel led by ISRO scientist Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan. This draft NEP was put in the open domain for the suggestions, and then it was kept open for the public consultation, and lastly it was been placed in open domain as a NEP 2020. So this NEP aims to encourage cognition and creativity, restructuring the entire system, more learner-centered approaches, access, equality, quality, affordability, and accountability. So these are all the words, jargons which they are trying to promise. Education policies across the globe has continuously and dynamically changed, but almost India has took 34 years. So leaving out students here with less leverage as compared to the global students. So not just on the education sector today, but country's economic and social progress in future will definitely impact by NEP, or NEP is actually impacted by all the social and economic progress done in last 34 years. So what are the highlights? So major highlights are, as we all know, 10+2 structure is replaced by 5+3+3+4. So education will start from the age of 3. From age of 3 to age of 8 will come as a foundational stage. From 8 year to 11 year, it will come as a preparatory stage. From 11 to 14, it will be middle stage, and 14 to 18 will be considered as a secondary stage, right? 5+3+3+4. Here, multilingualism and native languages will be given promotion. So if you remember, in last week only, our Prime Minister declared that engineering education will start in regional languages. In fact, from this year, Marathi, Tamil, Telugu education in engineering have started from first year. So medium of instruction would be home language wherever possible until class 5. Also, Indian arts of all kinds to be offered at all levels to the students. Student have to take exams only in grade 3, 5 and 8. तो तीसरी कक्षा में, 5वीं कक्षा में और 8वीं कक्षा में उनकी एग्जाम होगी. And just to check the progress throughout the schooling. And it will be also looked by appropriate authority. So अब तक क्या होता था कि 10वीं कक्षा तक कोई ऑब्जर्वेशन होता नहीं था सरकार की तरफ से. अब तीसरी कक्षा में, 5वीं कक्षा में और 8वीं कक्षा में एग्जाम जो होगी वो अथॉरिटी के द्वारा मॉनिटर की जाएगी, and they will check that whether the schools are following proper guidelines or not. Board exams in 10th and 12th class will be redesigned. अभी क्या होता है कि 10th और 12th स्टैंडर्ड जो है, it is complete year of tension, year of pressure on the students. तो उसको ईज करने के लिए उस एग्जाम्स को रीडिजाइन किया जाएगा. एंड ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ एक बार, जैसे आप JEE को 4 बार दे पाते हो, तो बोर्ड की एग्जाम भी आप 2 बार 4 बार दे पाओगे, उस तरह की फैसिलिटी की जाएगी. एक अर्ली चाइल्डहुड एजुकेशन को समझते हैं कि एक अर्ली चाइल्डहुड एजुकेशन में क्या चाहिए, और वही चीज हम NEP में करने जा रहे हैं, या जो पॉलिसी है वो इसी चीज को बता रही है कि एक तो अर्ली चाइल्डहुड एजुकेशन में स्टूडेंट शुड आइडेंटिफाई कलर, शेप, अल्फाबेट्स. एट द सेम टाइम बड़ों के साथ कैसे बिहेवियर करना है, एटिकेट्स क्या चाहिए, इमोशनल डेवलपमेंट कैसे होना चाहिए, वो चीज अगर अर्ली चाइल्डहुड से सिखाई जाए, इफ यू कैन टीच देम फ्रॉम द अर्ली चाइल्डहुड, इट विल बी रियली गुड. How you can relate with the nature, what is the importance of plants and animal in our life, what is your self identity, what are the ethics for living, arts, crafts and music, what is the importance for that, how you can learn while playing, so play based learning, how you would be collaborating in a team, how you would develop the curiosity, logical thinking, problem solving. So all these things will be clubbed in education in early childhood learning. So focus will be given, the syllabus will be framed in such a way, the exercises, the modalities will be done in such a way that all these things will be developed in early childhood education level only. If you see the education access at undergraduate degree level, so what they are planning this, you can have multiple entry and multiple exit when you are having university education. So they are planning to have not strong compartment of science, arts and commerce and humanities, but they want to dilute these compartments, curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular activity, and they want to increase the vocational education as well as mixture of academic streams. So if you see this figure, you can have multiple pathways of coming in. If you have dropped out, let's say after first year you have dropped out, but after 4 years you want to come back, so dropout should be come back. Various centers, alternative centers will be there for learning the same technology. You could have a peer tutoring during this. Learning outcomes are previously defined before starting your study. You should know what are your learning outcomes, and various schools are developed, undergraduate schools, for catering all this requirement. So universal access to education is the motto of MHRD. In fact, MHRD is now renamed as an education department. In fact, previously it was a MHRD, but now recently it has been renamed as an education department. So flexibility will be given with respect to the choice of subject wish to study in secondary stage. The B.Ed program, the educational program which is known as a B.Ed program, which will be made more multidisciplinary. A large number of merit-based scholarship will be provided for B.Ed program. It is suggested that B.Ed program would be made 4 years. In fact, right now it is a 2-year or 3-year program, but then it will be made 4-year program. TET, which is known as Teacher Eligibility Test, it will be strengthened and better test material will be provided, and schools will be considered during the recruitment. Develop skills of teachers. All the teachers will be given 50 hours of training for contributory personality development. So teachers' quality will be improvised through specific courses. and by 2030 teacher education will be moved to multidisciplinary universities. So major goal of NEP 2020 is core subjects will be reduced. Only core subjects which are very much essential with respect to their specific field will be kept. Otherwise, peripherals of core will be removed. Subjects such which can invoke critical thinking, such as discovery, discussion, analysis based, and holistic education, which can provide holistic education will be included. Interactive classes where more interaction rather than delivery of lectures will happen. Dependency of textbook learning will be reduced and questions from students will be promoted. And experimental learning और experiential learning यानी जो अनुभव से सीखा जाए, fun, creative, collaborative, exploratory activities उनको बढ़ावा दिया जाएगा. So these are the major aims of this policy. Reduction in curriculum, and in fact we all are feeling that the new syllabus which we are having right now through GTU, we all professors feel that this curriculum is drastically reduced and more subjects from humanities and all have come over here. अब न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में बाकी सारी संस्थाओं का क्या होगा, UGC, EICT, उन सबका क्या होगा, कौन लीड करेगा कमीशन को? So there will be a National Higher Education Regulatory Council. एक रेगुलेटरी काउंसिल होगा जिसको हम कहेंगे नेशनल हायर एजुकेशन रेगुलेटरी काउंसिल, NHERC. वो एक सिंगल रेगुलेटर होगा फॉर हायर एजुकेशन. सब एजुकेशन को वो कंट्रोल करेगा एक्सक्लूडिंग मेडिकल एंड लीगल एजुकेशन. एक ऑटोनॉमी दी जाएगी ग्रेडेड टर्म्स में. सो कॉलेजेस विल गेट based on accreditation, those who are getting accreditation will be given autonomy. And higher performing university, जो भी यहाँ की अच्छी यूनिवर्सिटी है, they will be allowed to open campuses outside India. So let's say IIT Bombay or IISc or any good university will be allowed to open campus outside India. Selected universities, let's say top 100 universities of the world, will be allowed to open campuses in India. So now foreign universities will be able to come to India under this policy. And regulatory system of higher education to be distinct for regulation, accreditation, funding, academic and standard setting under the Higher Education Commission of India. यानी एक सबसे ऊपर की बॉडी रहेगी, वो रहेगी हायर एजुकेशन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया. उसके अंडर में अलग अलग बॉडी आएगी. जो अलग अलग बॉडी क्या काम करेगी, तो वो एक्रेडिटेशन का, रेगुलेशन का, ये सारे काम अलग अलग बॉडी को दिया जाएगा. सबसे ऊपर जो रहेगा उसका नाम रहेगा हायर एजुकेशन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया, ये रहेगा. टेक्निकल एजुकेशन की बात करें तो टेक्निकल एजुकेशन में एज यू ऑल नो और प्रॉब्ली थ्रू पेपर्स वी हैव कम टू नो कि आफ्टर कंप्लीशन ऑफ 1 ईयर, इफ इट इज अ 3 ईयर कोर्स, तो आपको एक सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा. अगर 4 साल का कोर्स है तो 2 साल के बाद मिलेगा. डिप्लोमा आफ्टर 3 years and bachelor degree after 4 years, and even after 5 years you can get multidisciplinary degree. In fact इसी साल आप अगर NEP के बाद आप देखो तो निर्मा यूनिवर्सिटी ने एक कोर्स इसी साल चालू कर रहे हैं which is BTech plus MBA 5 year कोर्स. जनरली BTech प्लस MBA को 6 साल लगेंगे, लेकिन 3 साल में BTech और 2 साल का MBA, ऐसे करके 5 साल का एक नया कोर्स ये ऑफर कर रही है आफ्टर द इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ NEP, बिकॉज इन NEP 5 years engineering and MBA is allowed because they're having that kind of a possibility. यहाँ एक सबसे बड़ी बात हुई है कि अभी MPhil का कोर्स डिसकंटिन्यू हो गया है. MPhil सिर्फ इंडिया में चल रहा था, तो in line with all other universities, MPhil Master of Philosophy course will be discontinued in NEP. अब हायर एजुकेशन काउंसिल के अंडर कौन कौन सी बॉडी रहेगी, तो हायर एजुकेशन काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया के अंडर में 4 अलग अलग वर्टिकल्स है, 4 अलग अलग बॉडीज रहेगी. फर्स्ट वर्टिकल विल बी नेशनल हायर एजुकेशन रेगुलेटरी काउंसिल, यानी जो रेगुलेशन प्रोवाइड करेगा. It will be regulating higher education, teacher education, और बाकी हर तरह का एजुकेशन, सिर्फ 2 एजुकेशन नहीं, मेडिकल और लीगल, इन दोनों को छोड़ के सारे एजुकेशन को जो रेगुलेट करेगी वो एक बॉडी हो जाएगी, दैट विल बी नेशनल हायर एजुकेशन, नेशनल एजुकेशन रेगुलेटरी काउंसिल। दूसरी एक आएगी अक्रेडिटेशन काउंसिल, तो इट विल बी अक्रेडिटिंग ऑल द एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन, so National Accreditation Council NAC will be there, so it will then club NBA as well as NAC and all other accreditation bodies into one body, which is a meta accreditation body. तो सारी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन का जो एक्रेडिशन करेगी उस बॉडी का नाम होगा NAC, NAC। थर्ड काउंसिल होगा जो ग्रांट्स देगी, जैसे अभी यूनिवर्सिटी ग्रांट कमीशन है, तो ग्रांट कमीशन क्या रहेगा, तो दैट विल बी नोन एज हायर एजुकेशन ग्रांट्स काउंसिल। So for funding and financing of universities and colleges, so this will replace the existing National Council for Teacher Education, All India Council of Technical Education in UGC, यानी UGC, AICT, NCTE, इन सबको क्लब करके इन सबको मिला के एक ही बॉडी रहेगी, that will be Higher Education Grants Council। फोर्थ बॉडी रहने वाली है वो General Education Council, GEC। So that will frame the graduate attributes, namely learning outcomes, and it will have National Higher Education Qualification Framework. This will have teacher education and all the professional standard bodies, जो भी professional है, जैसे agriculture है, architecture है, veterinary है, ये सारी professionals body को यहाँ पे लिया जाएगा General Education Council में। तो जैसे कि इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ एजुकेशन, काउंसिल ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर, वेटरनरी काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, नेशनल काउंसिल फॉर वोकेशनल एजुकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग, ये सारे जो काउंसिल्स हैं अलग अलग, उन सबको एक ही बॉडी में लाया जाएगा जिसको हम कहेंगे जनरल एजुकेशन काउंसिल। तो इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम में एक टॉप रेगुलेटर होगा जिसको हम कहेंगे हायर एजुकेशन काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया, उसके अंडर में 4 वर्टिकल्स होंगे, 1 इज फॉर रेगुलेशन, 1 इज फॉर एक्रेडिटेशन, 1 इज फॉर ग्रांट्स एंड 1 इज फॉर जनरल एजुकेशन। So this is how the whole education system is going to form, and there will be a national testing agency, जो हम already देख रहे हैं कि एक national testing agency आ गई है जो JEE और NEET जैसी common exams conduct करवाएंगी, and policy proposes higher education institutions IITs change with regard to learning and diversity. Internationalization of education in India will happen. So Indian universities will go to foreign and foreign universities will come to India. Fees will be fixed for public as well as private universities. And we know that we already have fee regulatory councils for that. So what are the major changes that this policy is proposing? There is a freedom of choice, means there is no fixed compartment for arts, commerce, such like this. Vocational courses will be offered, and already once it was said that the institutions which are not getting NBAs till 2022 may be converted to vocational colleges. No doubt because of Corona, it may go little afterwards, but then it is always said that get NB, otherwise get to vocational course. So vocational courses will be emphasized. Internships will be given after 6th standard. After 6th standard, students can get internships for local trades and crafts. Skill development, practical assignments will be given. Now, one very good point is coming in this, that is called assessment. The report card of student will not be from a single teacher, but report card which will include self-assessment of the student, his own opinion, from existing teachers and existing students also, like what other students are thinking about me, what other students are evaluating me, what other teachers are evaluating about me. So that kind of a conclusive and holistic assessment system will come. So a system called POROKH, Performance Assessment Review Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. POROKH system of assessment is going to come, and a National Assessment Center will be set up. So there will be a National Assessment Center that will guideline that how a student should be evaluated and they are already into the process to develop something called PARAK, which is Performance Assessment Review Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. This system is going to come, so assessment is going to drastically change. One more good initiative about this NEP is there will be a bank of credits. Let's say you are opening an account in a bank. Similar way, you are going to open an account in this credit bank, and you do 2 courses from GTU, 2 courses from Parul University, 3 courses from Nirma University, and 5 courses from other university. So all the courses credit will be credited into that bank, and once you have a sufficient balance of credits, then some university may offer you a degree based on the accumulated credit. Right now what happens ke, first of all, you are not allowed to take courses from various universities. So in this, you will be allowed to take courses from various universities, and all the credits will be transferred to your bank account or say credit account. And once you can gather sufficient credits from various universities, and based on the type of flavor of your subject and based on your credits, you can earn a degree from your account of credits, which is known as ABC, Academic Bank of Credit. So such kind of bank will come into existence in NEP. Preference will be given to mother tongue for better understanding, and entrance exam, single entrance exam is suggested for all the colleges. National Education Technology Forum will be created for digital learning. Multidisciplinary college will be set up, and as an initiative, you all know that last month only Gujarat government has clubbed one of its campus into multidisciplinary college campus. Keka Shastri campus of Maninagar, Ahmedabad has been clubbed and made as a multidisciplinary campus where art student, commerce student, science student, BCA student, management student, they all come under one umbrella and they can go to inter-college, inter-stream subject selection. So that was implemented last month only in Gujarat. Music, art, literature, they all will be taught in colleges. MPhil is discontinued. Sanskrit will be brought back as a mainstream, and multiple entry exit system and foreign colleges are coming up into India. The main advantage or main emphasis is that investment in education, expenditure in education will be taken to 6% from 4%. So this is a very high investment in terms of education. From 4% to 6%, it's a large. So just on the base of comparison in a table, GDP previously in previous education system, it was almost 4% of GDP. Now it will taken up to 6% of GDP. GER, that is called gross enrollment ratio. ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो अभी का हमारा है 26.3. एनरोलमेंट रेशियो का मतलब ये है कि 12th स्टैंडर्ड क्रॉस करने के बाद कितने लोग कॉलेज में एनरोलमेंट करवाते हैं, तो वो सिर्फ 26% है, जो 50% तक ले जाना है 2035 तक. स्ट्रक्चर जैसे कि मैंने बताया 10+2+3 है, जो 5+3+3+4 होने वाला है. बैचलर्स प्रोग्राम इज आइदर 3 ईयर प्लस 4 ईयर है. नॉर्मली इंजीनियरिंग में 4 ईयर प्लस 2 ईयर है. तो NEP में क्या होगा, मैं 5 ईयर बैचलर मास्टर सब क्लब किया जाएगा. जिसको जितना पढ़ना है उतना खत्म करके वो छोड़ सकता है, राइट. सो बैचलर एंड मास्टर विल बी क्लब्ड एंड 5 ईयर प्रोग्राम विल बी ऑफर्ड. एंट्रेंस एग्जाम्स जो है, सो हर एक स्टेट अपनी खुद की अलग से लेता है और सेंटर खुद से अलग से लेता है. NEP में सजेस्ट किया गया है कि there'll be a national testing agency NTA, so it is going to conduct a common exam. Instructions पहले हमारी जो instructions थी वो depend करता था school administration पे in various states of the country, but now up to class 5 mother tongue, and afterward you can have local language, regional language, and afterwards you can opt for whatever language you require. But even engineering education is coming up in the local language. Vocational courses were only offered at the time of colleges, but now vocational courses will be offered even after 6th standard. So coding will start in 6th standard. Right now coding starts after 10th standard, but computer literacy, computer coding will start in 6th standard. And subjects for higher education previous policy में क्या था कि there was a compartment of arts, science and humanities. Now this compartment will be diluted. Board exams अभी fix time पे होती है. In NEP 2020 में there will be multiple exams throughout the year. Educational approach अभी तक ऐसा है कि it is more on theoretical. In NEP, they are promising to give you more practical knowledge and overall mental development. So these are the references I have used for preparing this lecture. So anyone who would like to go into detail for all of this, they can probably refer all this literature which I have sharing with you. So this is it from my side. And now I open the session for question answer. Over to you, Pandya sir. If you can take questions in chat box and we can answer them if I know them properly.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very interesting and full of information. So participants, please, if you have any queries or question, please ask. First question is from our respected Manish sir. Sir is asking that what about diploma? What about diploma education in NEP 2020?
Yeah. So sir, for implementation of NEP 2020, Commissioner Office has already constituted a committee under the leadership of Vadodaria sir, Bhuptani sir and IB Dave sir. So these three faculty are looking after how to implement the suggestions of this policy in Gujarat. Specifically to diploma education, as NEP says that the whole course will be offered, and if student want to leave after 3 years, he will be given diploma, and if student want to continue, then he will be given a degree degree certificate. So in a sense that diploma engineering or diploma studies will be there, but then student will be given a choice whether he would like to leave after 3 years or continue even further. But how would we implement them with respect to diploma colleges who are already offering a diploma institute? So for them, what will happen? Student has to choose that he only want to go to diploma college, and after 2 years he want to leave. He will go with certificate. So diploma college will also stay, degree college will also stay, but in degree college, student will have two options: after 2 years certificate, after 3 years diploma. In diploma college, it will have one option: after 2 years certificate and 3 years diploma.
Yes sir, one more question is from the student. आपने कहा कि निर्मा यूनिवर्सिटी ने BE plus ME को मिला के 5 ईयर का कर दिया है, तो क्या GTU भी ऐसा प्रोवाइड करेगी ऑल स्टूडेंट्स को?
या निर्मा यूनिवर्सिटी ने BE plus ME नहीं, BE plus MBA किया है. BE कंप्यूटर प्लस 2 years MBA वैसा शुरू किया है. तो it is a university and university is allowed to start courses. Regarding GTU, we do not have information because we are not that way involved in GTU. But right now GTU has not done this. BE plus ME साथ में ऐसा ऑफर नहीं हो रहा है अभी. As far as my knowledge is concerned, based of my knowledge.
Yes sir, one more question from the student. Today many leaders and educational professionals are saying that the future is online education. Sir, could it happen really that every classroom will shift to online classes?
Look, no doubt after the era of Corona, we all believe that online education has major role to play. So definitely online education will come in big way. The advantages of online education is you can always have a 3D representation, you can show a lot more videos and you can present. But again, level of interaction in online education is really low. And it is very difficult to replace offline education because the interaction which is happening in offline education is really great. So a new word has been coined up and which is known as a blended mode of education. In blended mode of education, what happens as far as theory part is concerned, student can be on online And whenever it requires a physical learning where you really have to do experiments and you have to really have to feel the things, at that time you can go to the institution and have your experiment is done. So nowadays a blended mode of education is coming up where online plus offline mixture of both is allowed. But one major thing is that online education is only successful when a student is dedicated for taking knowledge, right? So unless and until a student is not dedicated for the education, he won't be able to get or grasp things in online education. So yes, you are right. Online education is coming up in a big way.
I'll just share the feedback form. So kindly fill up the feedback form after completion of the webinar. I'll share the link right now. So all the participants are requested to fill the feedback form. Sir, one more question I have seen. We have a degree right now. So what is the benefit of a new education policy?
Those who are into final year, definitely they will, if they are opting for some postgraduate course, then definitely they will have a advantage, or some of the parts will be added to their biodata as well. But those who are learning, let's say second year, third year, those who are learning right now, they already have that advantage that you see that a lot of electives are offered in 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th semester, right? Those who are in final year, their 8th semester is completely blank and they will be sent to industry. So this is something which is came because of this NEP. Multi electives, so many options of elective, they all came because of NEP. So this is not going to one day shift. It will happen over time. Gradually system can be changed. It is not like switch on and switch off. So implementation of NEP will not happen just one night. It is a long procedure. It will take at least 2 to 3 years to implement all the clauses. But definitely you will see the changes happening across the education scenario or platforms.
One more question is from MP Patel sir. He is asking that how NEP 2020 is implemented in all year study or from first year of 5+3+3+4 pattern.
As of now, sir, what Education Department of Government of Gujarat has done, Education Department has already set up committees of various vice chancellors and educationalists under the chairmanship of Education Minister. And this committee is about to submit its report to Education Minister. And then they are going to decide that how we can convert this 5+3+3+4. And for that, syllabus is also designed. So syllabus design is in process because suddenly you cannot switch to that. For that, you require that kind of syllabus, and whatever suggestions are there of policy must be inculcated in syllabus. So at present, syllabus design work is going on. As soon as syllabus is available, then they will be changing this pattern into 5+3+3+4. Second thing is, let's say if you start implementing that thing, and if you start implementing from the first standard, it will require 12 years to implement the policy. So they are also suggesting equivalency between the things. So as in GTU, what we do, some student who has passed out of previous year, and if he's coming now, we are providing some equivalencies. So they will not wait for 12 years, but they will keep implementing various segments to various things, and slowly and gradually they are going to implement. But at present, it is in the stage of syllabus preparation.
Okay, one more question, sir, is from the student. Sir, as per the new education policy, can we say that the students who are in third year of BE right now are in the final year, because the fourth year will be optional, if I'm not wrong?
No, it does not mean that. In my presentation, when I say 3-year graduation, because most of the courses, commerce, arts, science, they all are 3-year courses. Only engineering and medical are 4 and 4.5 years, and architecture is 5 years. So that was for common courses, normal courses. Engineering will remain 4 years only. And as I said, after 3 years, it will be diploma and 4-year degree. So engineering will be 3 years only, 4 years only, sorry.
So, sir, shall we stop over here?
Yes, sir.
So thank you very much, Ketan sir, for bestowing a lot of information about new education policy. You have also covered the old system of the education, and we got to learn a lot of things. So now I would like to ask our convener sir, Professor B.N. Vedi sir, Associate Professor, that you please convey the vote of thanks to the speaker.
Thank you and very good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to thank our principal, Dr. M.G. Bhatt sir, who has encouraged all of us to arrange these sorts of webinars through digital SSCC platform. I'm very much thankful to our head of the department and today's expert speaker, Dr. Ketan Badgujar sir, for delivering such a wonderful, informative and thoughtful session on education paradigm, past, present and future. He really justified the topic. It started from the very ancient past and also gave us the future plan of the new education policy 2020. Sir, we are very thankful to you for enlightening all of us through your session. And special thanks because in spite of the fact that you are on medical leave, you have spared time for this session and kept your commitment of doing this webinar. I'm also thankful to all the faculty members of Electrical Engineering Department. They are all very active and enthusiastic and work hard in arranging all sorts of programs. And last but not the least, all the participants. There have been more than 100 participants who have attended this webinar across the institutes and also have actively participated and asked many questions, and a lot of interaction happened at the end of the session. So I'm very much thankful to all of the participants for making this webinar a success. So thank you all. It's over to you, Viren sir. You can officially declare the session ended.
Thank you very much, sir. Before ending the session, I would like to convey 2-3 things. That the feedback form has been shared. So please fill up the feedback form after the completion of the session. And this video will also be uploaded on the digital platform of our institute. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel you can note down the YouTube channel, that is SSCC Bhavnagar webinar. You can also watch this video later on when we upload this. And at last, I would like to thank all the participants, our respected speaker, our convener, our principal sir, from the bottom of my heart. And we will meet also soon with such good webinars. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We will end the meeting.